I stole my grandson from his father, took him to court, won custody, gave him everything money could buy, and 3 months later, he ran away in the middle of the night. My name is Catharine Williams. I'm 71 years old, and this is the story of how I almost destroyed my family trying to save it. If you've ever made a decision you thought was right, but turned out to be your biggest mistake, keep watching. This gets intense. Let me take you back to where it all started. That Saturday morning when the phone rang at 6:43 a.m. Something inside me knew. You know that feeling when a chill runs down your spine that freezes you to the bone? That's exactly what it was. I can still smell the coffee I'd just brewed, that strong aroma that always woke me up. Strong, dark, the way my daddy taught me to make it. But that day, not even the strongest coffee in the world could prepare me for what was coming. It was Detective Morrison. His voice was shaking, and I'd never heard a grown Texas man sound like that before. "Mrs. Williams, I'm so sorry. There's been an incident. Your daughter Sarah." The coffee mug slipped from my hands. I watched it fall in slow motion, shattering into 1,000 pieces on my Italian marble floor. The sound echoed through my empty house, just like my life was about to shatter. Sarah was gone, my only daughter, 42 years old, shot during a robbery at a convenience store. She was just buying water for my grandson Dylan's soccer game. Water, that's all she went in for. Drop a comment if you've ever lost someone suddenly. You're not alone in this pain. For 50 years, I'd built an empire in the heart of Texas. I learned early that crying doesn't get you anywhere in this world. My daddy always said, "Catherine, in this life, you need to be strong because nobody's going to do nothing for you." And I believed that with every fiber of my being. I'd built Williams Enterprises from nothing, 32 commercial properties across Texas, a real estate empire that employed over 200 people. I could negotiate million-dollar deals without blinking. I could fire executives who weren't performing. I could control boardrooms full of men who underestimated me. But I couldn't control this. The funeral was on a Wednesday. I remember because Wednesdays were always my board meeting days. But there I was, standing in front of a casket instead of a conference table, wearing all black instead of my power suit. The Texas sun was merciless that day, beating down on us like God himself was angry. I could feel the heat radiating off the black asphalt, smell the flowers wilting in the heat, hear the preacher's voice droning on about God's plan. God's plan. What kind of plan takes a 42-year-old mother away from her 10-year-old son? Dylan stood next to his father, Lucas. That boy was only 10 years old. And his eyes. Lord, his eyes were so empty, like someone had switched off the light inside him. He wore a suit that was slightly too big, probably borrowed. The sleeves hung past his wrists. Lucas couldn't even afford to buy his own son a proper suit for his mother's funeral. Lucas. That's when the rage started building inside me. This man, this writer, always chasing some dream, some book that never got published. While my Sarah worked herself to exhaustion, supporting the family, pregnant with their second child, a child that would never be born now. I watched Lucas during the service. He couldn't even look at the casket. His hands were shaking. He was weak. He'd always been weak. And now my grandson, my precious Dylan, was supposed to depend on this man over my dead body. Hit that like button if you understand what it's like to see someone you love in the wrong hands. That night, I sat in my home office, the one with the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown Dallas. The city lights sparkled below me like diamonds scattered across black velvet. I'd earned every single one of those lights, every building, every success, every victory. I could build, I could fix, I could control. And I was going to control this situation too. I called my attorney at 11 p.m. Richard had been my lawyer for 25 years. He knew better than to not answer when Catharine Williams called. "Richard, I need you to prepare custody papers. I'm taking my grandson." There was a pause. I could hear him breathing on the other end. "Catharine, are you sure? The father has legal rights. I don't care about his rights. I care about that child's future." Lucas can barely take care of himself. How's he going to raise a traumatized 10-year-old boy? I have resources, money, stability, a future to offer Dylan. It'll be a fight. Good, I said, and I meant it. I've never lost a fight in my life, and I'm not starting now. Drop a comment below if you think I made the right decision. Was I protecting my grandson, or was I being controlling? Let me know what you think, because what happened next changed everything. The custody battle lasted 4 months. 4 months of lawyers, court appearances, and cold stares across mahogany tables. The courtroom always smelled the same. Old wood, leather briefcases, and something else. Desperation, maybe, or broken dreams. Lucas tried his best. I'll give him that. He showed up to every hearing in the same worn suit, answered every question, fought for his son. I saw the dark circles under his eyes getting darker with each appearance. But sentiment doesn't pay for college. Love doesn't put food on the table. I had ammunition, tax returns showing his pathetic income, records of late rent payments, character witnesses from Sarah's friends who said she was always worried about money. I painted a picture of an irresponsible dreamer who couldn't provide for a goldfish, let alone a growing boy. My lawyer was ruthless. That's what I paid him for. The judge ruled in my favor on a Thursday in October. I remember the sound of the gavel. Bang, sharp, final. Just like that, Dylan was mine. Lucas's face crumbled. He actually reached for Dylan, but my lawyer stepped between them like a wall. Dylan was crying, calling for his daddy, his voice breaking on that word. But I told myself it was for the best. Children don't know what's good for them. That's why they need adults to make the hard decisions. I drove Dylan back to my estate in Highland Park that same day. 6 bedrooms, swimming pool, home theater, 3-car garage. I'd already enrolled him in St. Mark's, the best private school in Dallas. Bought him new clothes, new shoes, new everything. Everything a boy could want. You're going to have everything you need here, sweetheart, I told him as we pulled through the iron gates. They opened slowly like the jaws of some great beast. Your own room, the best education money can buy. You'll want for nothing. He didn't say a word, just stared out the window with those empty eyes. The same eyes he had at the funeral. If you're still watching, please hit that subscribe button. This story gets even more intense, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Trust me. That first night, I had my cook prepare his favorite dinner. At least what Sarah had told me was his favorite. Chicken fried steak, mashed potatoes, cream gravy. The smell filled the whole house. It should have felt like home. It should have felt like comfort. Dylan sat at the long dining table, at the opposite end from me. The table sat 12. Solid oak. I'd bought it at an estate sale in Austin. Cost me $15,000. It suddenly felt enormous with just the two of us. Eat up, honey. You need your strength. He picked at his food. I could hear the fork scraping against the china. Each scrape felt like fingernails on a chalkboard. Grandma, when can I see my dad? My jaw tightened. I could feel the muscles in my neck tensing. We'll discuss that later. Right now, you need to focus on settling in. School starts Monday. I don't want to go to a new school. I want to go back to my old school with my friends. Dylan, that school wasn't good enough. St. Mark's will prepare you for the Ivy League, for success, for a future your father could never give you. He pushed his plate away. The sound of china against wood echoed through the dining room. I don't care about Ivy League. I want my dad. Something hot flashed through me. Anger, frustration, fear. I couldn't tell anymore. Your father couldn't take care of you properly. I'm doing what's best for you even if you can't see it right now. Dylan stood up, his chair scraping against the marble floor. That sound. I'll never forget that sound. You're not my mom. Stop trying to be. He ran upstairs before I could respond. I sat there alone at that huge table, listening to his door slam above me. The chicken fried steak had gone cold. I couldn't smell the gravy anymore. Just the emptiness of that big house. Just the silence pressing down on me like a weight. The next 3 months were hell. and I don't use that word lightly. I'm a Christian woman raised in the church, but that's exactly what it was. Hell. Dylan refused to call me grandma. He barely spoke to me at all. His grades at the fancy school were terrible. The headmaster called me in twice. Mr. Bradford with his pressed suit and concerned expression. Mrs. Williams, Dylan is clearly struggling with grief and adjustment. Have you considered therapy? Of course I had. I'd hired the best child psychologist in Dallas, Dr. Morrison, $500 an hour. Office overlooking Turtle Creek. Dylan refused to talk to her. Just sat in her office for 50 minutes in silence, staring at the wall. I bought him video games. He didn't play them. I bought him a new bike. It sat in the garage, untouched. I enrolled him in soccer, thinking it would help him make friends. He refused to go. Every night, I'd hear him crying through the walls. Soft at first, then harder. Sometimes he'd call out for his mother. Sometimes for his father. Never for me. Comment below. Have you ever tried so hard to help someone that you ended up pushing them further away? Because that's exactly what I was doing. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night in January. I'd come home late from a board meeting around 9 p.m. My heels clicked on the marble as I walked in. The house was too quiet. Usually, I could hear Dylan playing video games in his room or watching TV. But that night, nothing. Just silence so thick I could taste it. I went upstairs, my heart starting to pound. Dylan? Honey? His room was empty, bed made, no backpack, nothing. The window was open and I could feel the cold January air rushing in, smell the winter night. My heart stopped, literally stopped for a moment. Then it started racing so fast I thought I might have a heart attack right there. I ran through every room calling his name, the panic rising in my throat like bile. I checked the garage. My Mercedes was there, but one of the bikes was gone. The new one I'd bought him, the one he'd never touched. He'd run away. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely dial. I called the police immediately. Then I called Richard. Then, with shaking hands that I barely recognized as my own, I called Lucas. He answered on the first ring, like he'd been waiting. Catherine? Dylan's gone. He ran away. I don't know when. I was at work and my voice broke. I never let my voice break. I'm on my way. Lucas arrived in 23 minutes. I know because I counted every single one of them. Standing at my front window, watching the gates, counting seconds. He drove up in his old Honda Civic that had a dent in the passenger door. He looked thinner than I remembered, tired. His shirt was wrinkled, but his eyes were sharp, focused. Where would he go? He asked immediately. No blame. No, I told you so. Just focus. I don't know. I don't know my own grandson well enough to know where he'd go. Saying those words out loud cracked something inside me, something I'd kept locked up for 71 years. Lucas pulled out his phone. Dylan has the watch you gave him for Christmas, right? The Apple Watch? Yes. My voice was barely a whisper. Can you track it? Why hadn't I thought of that? I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers. It took me 3 tries to enter my password. There, a little blue dot, moving slowly through the Dallas streets. He's at Clyde Warren Park. We drove there together in Lucas's beat-up Honda. Neither of us spoke. The Dallas skyline glittered around us, indifferent to our suffering. I could smell old coffee in the car, stale and bitter. Something else, too. Fear, maybe, or desperation. The kind that seeps out of your pores when everything's falling apart. If you're still with me, please hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. We found Dylan sitting on a bench near the children's playground. He had a small backpack next to him. In the glow of the streetlight, he looked so small, so lost, so much like Sarah when she was that age. Lucas got out first. He walked slowly like he was approaching a frightened animal. I watched from the car, frozen. Hey, buddy. Dylan looked up. When he saw his father, he broke, just completely shattered. He ran into Lucas's arms, sobbing so hard his whole body shook. Dad, I want to come home. Please, I want to come home. Please, Dad, please. Lucas held him, rocking back and forth. I know, son. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I sat in that car, watching through the windshield, my hands gripping the dashboard. And for the first time since Sarah died, I let myself really cry. Not the controlled tears at the funeral, not the angry tears in court, but deep, body-shaking sobs that came from somewhere I didn't even know existed inside me. I'd been so focused on winning that I'd forgotten what I was fighting for. Comment below. Have you ever been so focused on being right that you forgot what really mattered? This is the turning point of my story. This is where everything changed. That night changed everything. We all went back to my house. Lucas carried Dylan, who'd fallen asleep on his shoulder, his small arms wrapped around his father's neck. I made hot chocolate in my kitchen, something I had not done in probably 20 years. My hands were steadier now. The smell of chocolate filled the kitchen. Sweet, warm, everything my house hadn't been in months. Lucas put Dylan to bed in the guest room. When he came back downstairs, I was sitting at the kitchen island, 2 mugs of hot chocolate waiting, steam rising between us. Sit, I said. Please. He sat, cautiously, like he wasn't sure what was coming next. I need to tell you something, Lucas, and I need you to just listen. He nodded. When Sarah was Dylan's age, I missed her school play because I had a meeting with investors. She was playing the lead role, Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. She'd practiced for months. I promised I'd be there. I stared into my mug, watching the tiny marshmallows dissolve. I chose business over her. I told myself I was building a future for her, security, success. My voice cracked. But what she needed was her mother. She needed me to show up, and I didn't. Lucas didn't say anything. He just waited, patient, the way I'd never been. Sarah and we weren't close. Not really. She'd call on holidays, bring Dylan by occasionally, but there was always this distance, this wall, and I told myself it was fine, that she understood, that she knew I loved her even if I wasn't present. A tear rolled down my cheek. I didn't wipe it away, let it fall, but she didn't know, or maybe she did, and it wasn't enough, and now she's gone. And I can't ever tell her I'm sorry. I can't ever get those moments back. I can't ever sit in that audience and watch her be Dorothy. I can't ever undo choosing money over her. I finally looked at Lucas. Really looked at him. So I thought if I could control Dylan's life, give him everything I didn't give Sarah, somehow that would fix it. That would make it right. That would erase my failures as a mother. But he doesn't need everything, Lucas said quietly. He needs someone who shows up. I know that now. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug. I was trying to save him, but really, I was trying to save myself. From the guilt. From facing what kind of mother I really was. What kind of grandmother I was becoming. Hit that like button if you've ever tried to fix the past by controlling the present. Sometimes we all need to hear this truth. We talked until 3 in the morning. Really talked. The kind of talking I'd never done with Sarah. I learned things about my daughter's life I never knew. How she loved painting but gave it up because she didn't think it was practical. How she wanted to travel to Italy but never had the money. How she sang to Dylan every night before bed, even when she was exhausted from work. Songs I'd never heard. Moments I'd never witnessed. Lucas showed me videos on his phone. Sarah laughing at Dylan's soccer game, her face lit up with joy. Sarah making pancakes on Sunday morning, flour in her hair, Dylan giggling in the background. Sarah dancing in the kitchen to some song on the radio, spinning Dylan around in her arms. My daughter, my beautiful daughter, and I'd barely known her. I want to make this right, I told Lucas as the sun started to rise through my kitchen windows. Pink and gold light spilling across the marble. Not for me, for Dylan. What do you need? Money for a better apartment. I can help with that. Or, Catherine. Lucas interrupted gently. I don't need your money. I need you to give me back my son. Those words should have made me angry. Should have triggered my fight response. The one I'd honed over 50 years of business battles. But instead, they felt like relief. like the truth I'd been running from finally catching up with me. "You're right," I whispered. "You're absolutely right." 2 weeks later, we were back in court. But this time, I was the one asking the judge to reverse the custody ruling. My lawyer thought I'd lost my mind. Richard actually asked if I needed a psychiatric evaluation. The other partners at his firm thought I'd had a breakdown. But I'd never been more certain of anything in my life. The judge seemed surprised. Judge Patterson, the same woman who'd ruled in my favor just months before. "Mrs. Williams, you're voluntarily relinquishing custody." "Yes, Your Honor." I made a mistake. Dylan needs his father. He needs stability, not wealth. He needs love, not control. I looked at Lucas. His father has loved him every single day of his life. That's worth more than anything I could give him. That's worth more than all my properties, all my money, all my success. Dylan went home with Lucas that day. But this time, it was different. We set up a schedule. Dylan would spend every Sunday with me. Not at my mansion in Highland Park. I sold that place. Too big, too cold, too full of ghosts and empty rooms and marble floors that echoed. I bought a ranch house outside Austin. 3 bedrooms, a porch swing, land where Dylan could run and play and be a kid. I learned to cook his favorite meals myself. Not perfectly, but with love, with presence, with all the things I'd never given Sarah. I showed up to his soccer games, every single one, rain or shine. I sat in the bleachers with the other parents, cheering until my voice was hoarse. I learned the names of his friends. Tommy, who lived next door. Jake, who was afraid of dogs. Maria, who had a crush on Dylan. I learned his teachers' names. Mrs. Henderson for math. Mr. Blake for English. I learned his favorite ice cream flavor. Mint chocolate chip with gummy bears mixed in. I was present. If this story is touching your heart, please subscribe to this channel and hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. On Dylan's 11th birthday, 6 months after everything changed, we had a party at the ranch. Just Dylan, Lucas, and me. I made a chocolate cake from scratch. It was slightly lopsided and the frosting was too thin, but Dylan said it was the best cake he'd ever had. I think he meant it. After we sang Happy Birthday and he blew out the candles, Dylan hugged me, a real hug. The kind that means something, the kind I'd been chasing for 6 months. "I love you, Grandma," he whispered. Those 4 words healed something in me I didn't even know was broken. That night, after Dylan and Lucas left, I sat on my porch swing. The Texas stars spread out above me like diamonds on black velvet. The air smelled like honeysuckle and fresh-cut grass. I could hear crickets chirping in the distance. Somewhere, a dog barked. Normal sounds. Beautiful sounds. For the first time in 50 years, I wasn't thinking about business, wasn't planning my next move, wasn't trying to control anything. I was just grateful. Grateful that God had given me a second chance. Not with Sarah. I'll carry that regret until my dying day. But with Dylan, with Lucas, with myself. I'd spent my whole life believing that strength meant control, that love meant providing, that success meant never showing weakness. But I was wrong. Real strength is admitting when you're wrong. Real love is letting go. Real success is measured in moments, not money. In presence, not possessions. In connection, not control. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to this channel. Hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And leave a comment telling me about your own journey with control and surrender. Have you ever had to let go of something to finally find peace? I'm 71 years old. I built an empire. I lost my daughter. I almost lost my grandson. But in losing control, I finally found what I'd been searching for my entire life. Peace, purpose, and a reason to wake up every morning that has nothing to do with board meetings or bottom lines. Dylan calls me every night before bed. He tells me about his day, his friends, his dreams, what he learned in school, what made him laugh, what made him sad. And I listen, really listen, not planning my response, or thinking about what I need to fix. Just listening. Last week he asked me, "Grandma, do you think Mom would be proud of us?" I looked at this beautiful boy with his mother's eyes and his father's gentle heart, and I said, "Yes, sweetheart, I think she's very proud of both of us. Because we're not the same people we were when she died. We've grown, we've changed. We've learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is surrender. My name is Catharine Williams. I'm 71 years old, and it took me 7 decades to learn that you can't control your way into love. You have to surrender your way into it. Thank you for watching until the very end. If you found hope in my story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who's struggling with control or loss. Your comment might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Tell me, what's one thing you need to surrender control of? I'll read every single comment. God bless you all.